From her blooms the spider lily. Prologue. He gasped for air in a desperate attempt to fill his lungs with oxygen as the dirty hands of his attacker loosened their grip on his throat. They both looked down to see the dagger that was plunged into the gut of the rogue. His attacker tried one last time to finish him off, but as he felt their grip tighten again, he decided it was him or them. He twisted the knife violently in all directions, putting his other hand over the rogue's neck and pushed them back. Eventually, the attacker could no longer withstand the pain and collapsed off of him. He hacked and coughed and rolled over onto his side, their neck full of pressure and pain. He dropped the blood-caked blade as it clanged against the ground. His attacker lay next to him, their eyes wide open, their lifeless gaze staring into his eyes. He froze, almost unsure if they were still alive, and they were so shocked by his willingness to take another fellow man's life that they simply couldn't speak. The cold, empty stare was too much. He turned over the other direction quickly and vomited on the ground from the pure stress of nearly meeting his maker. He caught his breath as quick as he could after retching violently for a few moments. He wiped the excess from his lips and turned away from it, the smell prompting a potential second wave. He had no choice but to face his victim once again. He reached up and pushed their head away from him, turning their gaze in the other direction. He attempted to gather himself after taking a life. A human life. A feeling that would not soon leave him. He had to live with the fact that a man was dead because of his choice, despite the little choice he had. Blood soaked the tunic beneath his cuirass. Blood that wasn't his. His body felt heavy, his legs were weak, and his arms were strained. Countless hours without food, water, or sleep had finally begun to take its toll. After a few pained breaths, he turned over to look back at the camp. He dug deep and found the strength to simply observe his surroundings. Fire, darkness, despair. A destroyed camp where he was held prisoner in a land far from home. The scorched earth lit ablaze amongst the chaos that had transpired just mere moments before. The cloth and wood from the tents and cabins only served to fuel the smoldering flames that trapped him within. The fallen knights and samurai seemed to blanket the charred grass and dirt in the remains of what was a haven for some. His eyes saw no motion besides the inferno. No one lived. In that campground, he was the last human alive. If only that meant he was truly alone. One figure, their silhouette made pitch black by the dancing flames behind her, stood over him. A malevolent shadow amidst the death. The centerpiece of the fire with a paralyzing presence. The one paramount to the destruction around him. Her. Horns tore through the straw hat she wore, her eyes like two hot coals. Death incarnate stared right through him. His own mortality had never been more evident. The sound of the flames kept the eerie silence at bay. She knelt down, removing her hat, her sharp fangs unveiling through her twisted grin. He used the last of his strength to turn over fully to face her.
"Don't worry, little human,"
she said, her voice full of malice.
"Your fate is not that of your brethren, nor your enemy. Yours is a fate much more dire, and for you to face it, you must continue to draw breath. You and I still have so much to do. Besides, we haven't even begun to get to know each other."
"Who are you?" he choked out. "What are you?" She let out a low, menacing laugh, striking fear into his heart. Her black, scaly hands cupped his face gently. Her eyes stared deep into his, her smile as wide as ever. Her cold nails sent shivers down his spine.
"Why, isn't it obvious?"
she said, her voice hissed like a snake.
"I'm your new best friend."
She released him and he fell back, staring at the smoky night sky, the bright moonlight breaking through the sundered land around him. His breathing became short, and his eyes fell heavy. His consciousness gave way, and the only thought that crossed his mind in the last few moments awake was, how did I get here? His eyes closed slowly as his memories flooded his weakened mind, and the flowers on the bottom of her dress were the last thing he saw.